Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to KGX to the Z TV. As you can hear, you can probably tell by my voice. I'm a little hoarse right now, pause, because that was an emotional game. Emotional. I kicked every ball. I feel like I played, and in the end, it was a battle. It's what Arsenal and Chelsea should be. It's what at the time first in the Premiership versus second in the Premiership should look like. Um, it was two of the best teams in Europe going toe to toe, and yeah, there were some circumstances that kind of led to the game playing out a certain way. But let's get into it. But before we do, hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on, and um, yeah, let me know in the comments as always what you guys think. But Chelsea won, Arsenal won. I'd say on the balance of play, maybe a deserved draw. Um, Chelsea down to 10 men, which we'll get into. But let's start from the beginning and um, let's get into the lineups, right? So we had Sanchez in goal. Right back was Gusto. Center backs were Fofana, Chalaba. Left back was Cucurella. Midfield was Reece James, Enzo, Caicedo. Left wing was Neto. Up top was João Pedro. Right wing was Esteval. Arsenal had one late substitution because apparently Saliba took a knock, so it was Raya in goal. It was Timber right back. It was Mosquera and Hincapié in the center backs. Calafiori left back. The midfield was Zubi, Eze, and Declan. Right wing was Saka. Up top was Marino. And left wing was, who did they have left wing? Martinelli. So a little bit of a chopping and changing. You could say it wasn't Arsenal's strongest lineup, but we were also missing our talisman Cole Palmer, who was on the bench but didn't feature in this one. But yeah, it was. This is a game, and I talked about this before in some of the previews, where if Chelsea wants to be a serious title contender, then we needed to bring the game to Arsenal. We needed to go out there and get 3 points. A draw would keep the gap between us and Arsenal the same at 6 points, but it does allow Man City, who got that late winner versus Leeds, to sort of kind of creep back in and move back into second place. But yeah, it was contested. It was heated. There were yellow cards galore. There were crunching tackles coming in from early. It was a proper old school Chelsea versus Arsenal, which is a little bit different because very rarely in our histories have both of us been competing for the titles, right? When Arsenal sort of fell off after the Invincibles, Chelsea kind of took that spot. Um, and Arsenal, during their course of the time when they moved from Highbury to the Emirates, sort of brought them back down to earth in terms of spending, so they couldn't attract the same quality of players. But yeah, it was a devastating. It was a physical game. It was a emotional game. You could tell what it meant to both teams. And I thought we started the better. I thought we started very well. We were on the front foot. We were dominating the possession or keeping the lion's share of possession. We were creating opportunities, although a lot of the opportunities weren't clear-cut chances, but there were some moments. João Pedro, who had a couple of moments where we forced high turnovers and we got them into dangerous positions in the box, and João Pedro just poor today, very poor. If you're looking at Chelsea players, and I think if we want to look at all of them, not many of them had poor games. João Pedro was definitely one of them. Delap was probably another one. But apart from that, everyone else, fantastic performances. But we had some opportunities. There was one where João Pedro had about 3 touches in the box, had Esteval to his right, had Enzo to his left, and he just overhits it. Maybe you could say maybe you could say Enzo should have run a little bit more. But yeah, it was. First half was about us not taking our chances, and then of course everything changes. 38th minute, Caicedo, deserved red card. I will hold my hands up. It was a poor tackle. It was late. It was a little bit high. It was reckless. It had force in it. I don't know whether or not he's going to be out for 3 games. I don't know if that's considered violent. I don't think it was. I think it was just a normal challenge. I don't think his intent was to. I think it was Marino was to hurt Marino, but it was a deserved red, and we were down to 10. But credit to the boys because even down to 10 men, we were the aggressor. We were on the front foot. Usually when you get a red with about 10 minutes to go in the half, you just want to make it to the half, regroup, and things like that. And Enzo Maresca's seen and had ample opportunity this year to actually, unfortunately, manage games with 10 men. And I thought this match he did very, very well. We didn't set up, defensive. We were still on the front foot, and we were the better team. Um, up until I'd say up until we scored the goal. Right, we get the goal set piece. Um, the play before it was a great cross in. I think it was either Neto at the back post and then João Pedro heads it and Raya makes a fantastic save. But we get the corner. Reese sends it in. Trev, monster performance today. Flicks it on, and it's 1-0. And like I said, it's deserved. But from that moment, we rightly so, right? We sat back, we soaked up the pressure, we allowed Arsenal to break us down, which in theory is not a terrible thing because at that time we had Garnacho on the left, we had Neto on the right, we brought in Delap, so we had runners that could hit them on the counter. But and not only that, but you also have Arsenal struggling a little bit when it comes to breaking down teams in open play, right? But we sat back, we soaked up the pressure, and ultimately Arsenal gets their goal. I think about 15 minutes after we score ours, they get Saka beats. I wouldn't say he beats it because he cuts back on his stronger foot, but he takes Kukurea and one other defender to the touchline. He cuts back in, chops back in on his left, sends in a cross, and then Marino is there unmarked. If you're going to say Fofana, who was excellent today, the only thing that you could potentially fault him for is he should have been a little bit tighter. But you could say maybe to Kukurea and the other defender should have probably done a little bit better to box in Saka, who was by far their biggest threat. And Saka wasn't great by any means, but he was their biggest threat, and it was obvious that's where they were sort of focusing their attacks. But they get the goal. It's 1-1, and then it just becomes a game of, all right, we soak up the pressure. We make Sanchez makes a few saves. We're doing all the dark arts to buy time to try to get them sent off and things like that. And ultimately, we soak it up. We have some opportunities to counter, but we couldn't make the most of it. We weren't very clinical today, and as good as we played, I thought we could have played a little bit better. I've seen us play a little bit better versus some of the bigger teams. We played better versus Barca, even when it was 11. Oh, 11, maybe 11. As you can see, I'm gassed. But it was in the end. Sanchez made one or two key saves where he did a good job of stopping the shot and then falling on the rebound. He was brave on the one where it took who was it? It was Gyökeres who went in feet first, who don't think it was a red by any means. I think, Gyökeres has every right to go for that ball. It's just bang, bang. The ball falls into the box. A striker's going to go for it. Sanchez is brave. Striker's going to go with their feet because that's where they have to score. The keeper's going to go with his hands, so his head's going to be first. And it's just a bang, bang. If you're going to be harsh or if you're going to be very critical, I could say maybe what's his name? Nkapia should have been sent off for that high yellow. Or that high forearm. But apart from that, like I said, deserved draw. Disappointing because I thought we should have we had enough to win that game, even down to 10 men. But I'm not going to fault the boys. I thought they were fantastic today. Reece James was. Look, we were having big arguments about who's the best right back in the league. I said it was Reece James. Reece James might be one of the best sixes or holding midfielders in the league too, because he controlled the game, like to the point where Maresca didn't even sub on Santos or sub on another midfielder. We just went with Reece and Enzo, and Enzo was also pretty good today. Reece and Enzo double pivot, and they locked down. I don't even remember Zubamendi playing. Rice had some couple of interceptions and things like that, but I didn't think he was that great either. And then Eze, I couldn't. You could have told me that Eze was didn't even play in that game, and I would have said, yeah, I would have believed you. But overall, like I said, deserved point. Disappointed, but still happy. We moved the leads on Wednesday. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on, and we will see you at the next one. Peace, folks.